Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today in this session. I'm so happy and excited to share with you and will give you an introduction on NLP or how improve text accessibility with machine learning. Well, my name is Victor Ubaldo. I'm Peruvian. I'm a computer and system engineer. Actually, I work in Interbank like an analyst. And I'm doing my master for computer science in Católica University. I'm part from Women Testmaker Lima and GDG Club Lima communities to improve technology and mentoring for more women in technology and improve technologies for students too. Well, that is the agenda for today. First, I'm going to talk about machine learning and accessibility. Then, how you can use natural language processing is a little introduction for NLP. Then, how can you use Tensorflow for NLP? And then, some suggestions and recommendations for your future projects. Well, a little overview from machine learning. If you listen that word for first time, in traditional programming, sometimes we use web coding like Java, Python, or JavaScript. Some rules like if, else, do while, etc. I use data like is for text or sometimes numerics or strings data. And then answer like a yes or no, some numbers or some answers. That is the traditional programming. And what about machine learning? We use the same answers, but the output to machine learning gives is the rules. And that is the paradigm of machine learning. We use the answer and data and give rules to predict or classificate some information like a text, audio, videos, anything you use. So that is the model, is other concept you need to know. We use the data and the output is the predictions. So in this part, we conclude that machine learning is programming with data. Actually, we use a lot of data to generate in social media, for example. The term called big data is very famous today. But machine learning is the concept is popular because with all that data we can collect today, we can use for prediction and only use programming. So first of all, NLP, we use text every day. When you text with your friends in WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter, probably if you like lettering like me, sometimes we understand the words to express emotions, to sometimes you use your letters or your language in other hands to send clip voices in WhatsApp or other messaging application, where you use native language to write text or say to express these emotions. Express sadness, happiness, when you agree or disagree with something. What about the machines or the systems? How they can use our language to express or to predict something in our speech. So that is natural language process. Allows us to use our language or normal speech to speak to a computer instead use advanced code. That means it's not necessary to use advanced code to communicate with advisors or programs or for example, to say, oh, I need to buy, I don't know, my breakfast for applications. You don't need to code, only you need to speak or write text. And internally in that application, use NLP to understand your text, your voice, and then transcribe this text to this audio to text. And well, the task is so NLP is a subfile for machine learning and using technologies for deep learning. So where I find NLP? In chatbots, transcription, and you see YouTube's video for music, and you saw the transcription in the videos, predicting a text like autocomplete for some keyboards use that functionality. And language translation, if you need to translate, for example, English to Spanish or other language. Other applications are results, search results, sentiment analysis, text analysis, or email filter. Well, what challenge in NLP you can find? Okay, if you have, if you say hello in your native language, please send a message in the chat how you can tell hey or hello in your native language. Okay, I see namaste, hi, hola, hello. Good. Irina say Martina, oh great. Yes. What about if you say, I don't know, good morning, or any phrases in your native language? A great day, for example. Okay, Laura. Irina, good. Thanks, Lavina. Yeah, it's awesome. All the native language we have. Sometimes we can understand the text. Good. Thanks for your participation. So that is sometimes the challenge in NLP is the textual accessibility. If you don't have you don't know the language, or you don't understand the language, probably you need to visual the text, or sometimes listen in your language the text, or need to translate to audio to text or text to audio the speech. So to understand, and that is why accessibility is need to understand the words, the text, the audios. So that is why we need to actually, for the context, for the communication, for news we see in some social medias, is need to accessibility the information for our native language. And what about in indigenous language? So that's why textual accessibility, some challenge in NLP is the transcriptions, the language translations, and speech recognition. Not necessary to text you can find in digital, in internet, sometimes in books, in some text in papers from many years ago, to maintain the history for our country, for our city. So first of all, I'm going to share a case for how you can recognize sentiments in text to learn some basics of NLP. So I'm going to use this dataset from Kaggle. It collects Amazon and Yelp reviews. We use this data set and then send if the review is good or is bad. And data sample is the basic to you understand some other concepts for NLP. So are you ready? Okay. Preprocessing data. This is one of my last tweets. So follow me on Twitter for Vicky. For example, if you need to collect data for Twitter, what's kind of the processing you need to apply in these tweets? First is delete emojis. What more? Delete links. For example, if you find hashtags, you need to delete hashtags. What can imagine you need to clean in some tweets? Do you have examples? What more? Sometimes I detect code mixed is tweets like part of English, part of Spanish. Yeah, removing using arroba. Code mixing. Sometimes some stop words that is not clear the tweet or the message of the context what is the user is tell us. And then let me check. Okay. Oh, so one of the first steps need to apply for this text is tokenization. Tokenization is the first step to prepare text to be using in a machine learning model. In other words, is to generate numbers for the words. You see that message is what time is it? Each word have a number. Imagine a long text from many words. Each word we can have a number, and then to connect with each sentence, no, for sequence to words. So the next concept is auto vocabulary or OOV. If you have other words in your corpus is new words, that example of tokenization, if not have the number, if with code you can assign UN key or unknown tokens for that extra words you can find. Then what about stop words? Stop words, you can remove frequency words such as the, is, etc. Does not have a specific semantic. If you detect some other stop words in your corpus, it's not necessary to collect for your dataset. You create that array to all the stop words you need to delete for your corpus. For next is stemming. Stemming is when you have a word and this word contains an affix, prefix, and suffix words. That word, for example, beliefs, the suffix or prefix is the final S. So you apply the stemmings to obtain the original word. Lemmatization is when you have not necessary affix words. If you see that example, my cat looks like a tiger. Some not have the affix or the suffix, so we use lemmatization to delete and obtain the original word for each sentence, and then we apply the tokenization. Sometimes we don't use stemming because it depends of the word he have affix or no. But frequency, some research use lemmatization for that task. And pairing. Padding is when you have some sentence and words are, you need to prepare your input text and then tokenize, but you add zeros at the end in the enter of the word of sequence to make the sample in the same size. For example, you say this padding is this, each sentence have a max length, for 15 characters. And then in this example, add padding in the post or add zeros in each padding, in each sentence. Well, we use for that test Python 3, CodeLab or a Jupyter Notebook, and use a framework for ML like Tensorflow. And why Tensorflow? Because if you're a beginner, Tensorflow is an end-to-end platform, make you build in an easy way machine learning models, and you can deploy that. So we're going to try this example in Colab. So let me seconds to share with you that sentence. Okay. Okay, you can see my screen with Google Colab.
We can see it.
Okay. So in this example, first we're going to check how use tokenization. So we're going to import libraries like TensorFlow, tokenizer, and batch sequence. So yeah, we first import that library, and then we have some sentences here. For example, well, my favorite drink is coffee, my favorite food is mochi, do you have mochi too? Or you have favorite or mochi is chocolate, for example, some sentence. If you like mochi like me, well, this is my favorite dessert. So then we're going to tokenize the words. First, we're going to use out of vocabulary. You remember we use that for words if not in our corpus, and then maximum number words of each sequence, and then we're going to tokenize that sentences. So, yeah, I'm going to examine the word, and that's it. You can say each word contains a number. So that's it. And then, for example, you're going to have the number of a word. For example, much is number 3. Nice. Then, if you want to create a sequence for the sentence, that means tokenize all the sentences. For example, you have in this example, you can apply the tokenizer from text to sentence, and that's it. For example, first sequence is 4, 6, 7, 2, 8. 4 is my, 6 is favorite, 7 drink, 2 is, and 8 coffee. So that is a way to use text to sequence and give you a right to sentence. Well, what about you don't have you enter a new sentence, this sentence is not in your corpus. That is why we use out of vocabulary for token each sentence and each word, and apply a new, for example, apply one or other character for that's kind of a new words. That's the sample. This is a new word sentence, and then apply one, and repeat that. It's very interesting. And yes, here we use the padding. The pad is, if I explained before, you send the sequence of of your corpus, and then add zeros. You can find the sequence, and the max sentence have more words. So for the other short sentence, add zeros. You see? It's important doing this part with your tokenization and preprocessing that data in this way after or before to train your model. So if you are going to specify a maximum length of the padding sequence, you can add this argument. And yes, add the zeros. If you want add in the post, this is the way. And if you need to limit the length of the sentence, you can use 3, for example. And then, well, this is some examples if you want to use more. It's a summary of the previous steps using the tokenizer with sequence to text to sequence, using the padding, and that is the way to preprocessing your data. So let's start with the challenge for today with recognizing sentiment text. This is the data set. I'm going to import. Okay. And then it's a CSV. Let's go into explore the data set. Well, you see 2 columns. One column is for the text, and the second column for the sentiments, 0 or 1. 1 is a good review. 0 is a bad review. Very easy, right? Then that part is to separate your corpus from the train and test data or information. If you remember other machine learning projects or basic machine learning projects, always you need to separate train data for test data. Train data sometimes is 80% of the data and test is 20%. So I separate in this way. Training sentence contained 1,000 of sentence, and testing is 300. So yes, that's the way to separate the data for training to test. Well, this multiplication for obtain that sentences or to explore data. Oh, let me check. I don't run that part. Okay. To see. Okay, this is some example of the training sentences. Okay, so that part is to tokenize the dataset. If you remember, need to use tokenizer and then paths test sequences. So I have a limit for each sentence. The max length is 100. I'm going to pad it in the post or at zeros in the post. You use OOB. Embedding is that part I explained later, but it is important to know that this challenge is using embedding word. That means use vectors for each word and to separate or indicate if the word is near to be good or near to be bad. Going to run that part and then, okay, word index is a list of all the words and the tokenizer of all the sentence. So for example, great is 19, good is 20, 2 is 8. Oh, it's nice. You can find all the tokenizer, the tokens. Okay, next we're going to apply the same part of the tokenizer for the training sentence and then for the testing sentence. And then let's going to check how it's padding. You see the zeros for the effect of the pad. I think I missed something. No, it's okay. Well, I'm going to print that part. Well, the maximum length of the sentence is 100. Yes, and well, this is an example. Well, that part is to review a sequence. For example, if a little example for decoding a sequence of the word index. And this is a decode review for one of the examples previously. Is only for check. And yes, this is the part for training or basic sentiments model with embedding. You remember I mentioned embedding is when I use my word, for example, excellent video. So excellent video, imagine is a vector, is near to be 1. So each sentence, each word, have a punctuation. It's a point of the vector or a linear graphic with x in an I. Yeah, so let's go into train that model. I use metric accuracy, optimizer Adam. This is the basic, no problem with if you don't understand very well that part. But in this part, it's important to I add my vocabulary size. I previous add. And then, that part is for create or model, because then I'm going to fit my model using my training labels and my validation data. I assigned only 10 epochs. Epochs is, for example, 10 twice the model going to fight. So it's fitting. Okay, you see the accuracy for a model for training is 95%. Value for accuracy for our text is 77, so it's nice. We can improve that accuracy later. We're going to check our model. So you can see each epoch with the accuracy is increased. And the loss is the percent of the metric is near to be the value from the text. So you see each epoch is going to be low. Then we're going to visualize this is optional if you're going to write your embedding vectors. But going to predict sentimental in new reviews. So I have some example right that we're going to say that, each sentence we're going to tokenize her and then add the padding in the same way from the training text. And yes, this is the answer for each sentence. If you have other examples of reviews, you can send your reviews in the chat and I add in this example. But that is the way you can apply basics of NLP like tokenizer, to generate tokens for your sentence, then add padding, create a simple model to train your data, your text, and then have a classification of that. So imagine if you have other language here, then you need to separate your corpus from language A, language B, and then have other vectors for aggregate that sentence. Or if you prefer, translate all your sentence in one language and then apply the model. But this is the steps to use NLP in a basic way. So yes, I'm going to change my screen. Well, I mentioned some challenge in NLP like transcription and speech recognition. With Tensorflow, you can use audio decode web. Is a library, a function. You send some clips of audio and try to transcribe or have a prediction of what is the text you want to translate. That example is in the tutorials for Tensorflow core. Is have a roaming Google Colab, and you can. This example is very interesting because some sentences say don't go left, but I don't find other sample with a sentence per long sentence. So, but for first step for audio recognition, that is the tutorial you can review. So for textual accessibility, that is some example. This is some example using encoder decoder, using Tensorflow keras. And in this example, I use embedding too, like the example of the text. Well, that is not all the complete text, but if you want to see all the example, in the tutorial for Tensorflow, you can find all the collab for that example. Very important to check sequence to sequence or sequence to sequence because in this example, it's translate Spanish to English using Keras models. Remember, you need to preprocessing your data before trying this example. So for you, the next steps, try new tools like recurrent neural network or RNN is a good tool to if you want to use other kind of corpus, like I don't know, you want to create a machine translation application, or create a machine translator. It's important to use recurrent neural network. And then long short-term memory is important because if you see the example, the model recognize the word if it exists in the corpus. But what if as in the sequence of, for example, today is a good day too, and the model need to predict what word is next. So in this kind of technique, long short-term memory, you train your model using recurrent network too, and trying to connect for all the examples, what is the next word in your sentence. So that's for example, for to complete projects, or I don't know, if you want to generate new words, the two terms or concepts you need to review. Increase your corpus with diverse data. I'm going to, well, actually for some research I do, I use PDF Miner. PDF Miner is it's like a scraping data in files PDF, and Tweetbee API to web scraping in Twitter. It's very useful, that's the tool. Yes, for increased or corpus for indigenous language or code mixing, try to use dataset with that kind of language, because it's beautiful see other language, for example, in the chat, to understand, be more empathy with other communities, with indigenous communities you have in your city, in your country, because all countries have indigenous language, and we need to improve the history or the kind of words in their corpus. Try to collect indigenous language and try to use TensorFlow for these projects. One of the quotes here is, we can build a much bigger future where humans are relieved on manual work using AI capabilities. So I mentioned some grades, or I don't know, one benefit of that context of pandemic is we can connect with other people with the same I don't know, if I want to learn new language or express myself, my emotion, if I agree or not agree. If you want to understand that the word, is necessary to improve the accessibility in our communities, and improve that communication of the accessibility to be more empathy with our communities. So that's all. Thank you so much to enjoy listen my talk, because this is my second session, or I don't know, events to speak in English. So for me, for my community, or for all the women who want to talk in your native language, or trying to have talk in these in communities like Women Who Code, applying for speak, because it's very important to you, for yourself. Speak loud if your emotions, your expressions. That's all. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Victoria, thank you so much. That was incredible. And I can't believe it's only your second talk in English. You're really, really good. It's been fantastic. That was a really good introduction to NLP. And this video will be shared on YouTube afterwards for anyone who wants to watch it again, and also for the people who couldn't make the talk, it'll be available for them as well. And we have a lot of people in the chat saying thank you. Molly said very informative and love the focus on the languages. Thanks, Victoria. Fantastic. And we just have one question here. We only have time just for one quick question. Jacqueline asked, could they get access to a copy of the Jupyter Notebook if that's possible?
Yes, I'm going to submit my that Google Colab, you can use Jupyter Notebook too, and I'm going to submit my notebook to you. You can use and practice that example. Yes. Other question?
That's it. We have just one more here. Molly asks, what do you do if the labels are uneven? For example, 95% of labels are positive review.
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Thank you, Molly, for ask. For that problem, you need to balance your data, right? If sometimes you can find, for example, if you are investigate for COVID context, you can find more bad reviews for good reviews in social medias, as it's not balanced. You can generate new data, or record or share the data of good or bad to balance that. Try to investigate if that way or that data set is useful for you, or, for example, need to collect from other data sets, for example, social media from Facebook, or investigates or scraping newspapers from the web. It's really necessary to balance your data for the bias, because for ethical artificial intelligence, you need to not have the bias for the text, because if you send or you type new text, is really is very I don't know, have the more possibilities to be bad comments, or to be a good, because the train or the model was not training for good or bad text. So it's necessary to balance the data.
Awesome, thank you so much. And we have more people saying thanks, and we can wrap up there. Thank you again, Victoria. That was really amazing. I'm so excited to share this with the community afterwards. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of Connect.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.